Welcome to Golf Smarter Mulligans number 51. I'm Fred Green. According to Jennifer Munro, there are 4 personality types on the golf course. She believes that our individual personality is the most influential aspect of how we manage the mental game. Have you ever played with someone who completely gets on your nerves? What about those rounds that you have more fun and get into meaningful conversations with someone? Could it be that you found a compatible personality to play with? Well, once you hear about the various personality types in today's episode, you'll learn how to assess not only your personality, but others in your group, and it'll make you a stronger mental game player. Golf Smarter Mulligans is brought to you by 2guyswithgolfballs.com, offering premium used golf balls at a fraction of the cost of new ones. Did you realize that the average golfer loses around 5 balls per round? That could be as much as $20 extra per round, but it doesn't have to be. If you purchase golf balls from 2guyswithgolfballs.com, you can play any ball you'd like. They have a phenomenal selection, but it doesn't have to be paying full price. And maybe you're trying to figure out which is the right ball for you. Well, this would be a great way to do it. Finding a ball in the woods, playing it and thinking, this isn't a good ball for me, that's not really going to tell you much. You really do need to play a couple of holes, maybe even a full round with one type of ball to learn if it's the right ball for you. And this is the way you want to do it. Go to 2guyswithgolfballs.com, pick from their Eagle quality, birdie, or par quality, and choose which one you want to play with and decide whether it's the right ball for you. Now, Golf Smarter listeners and Golf Smarter Mulligans listeners, they get an additional 10% off every order, every time with a coupon code GolfSmarter. But that discount expires on April 1, 2020, so jump on that one quickly. Go to 2guyswithgolfballs.com and save. Welcome, Jennifer.
Hello, Fred.
How are you?
I'm great. How are you?
I'm doing fine. You're in the beautiful part of Florida, and it's a beautiful day.
It is a gorgeous day, of course.
Welcome to winter.
There is no winter. Well, one of our leaves fell off the tree, so I guess.
Uh-oh. You got to get that cleaned up.
Yeah,
Homeowners Association. A leaf fell.
That's right. They'll pick it up. They'll be here any minute now.
GolfMindRx.com is your website. And when you go to the page, the first thing that hits me is the colors of golf. What type of golfer are you?
Oh, good.
And I just found that absolutely fascinating. What does this mean? Can you explain how the colors can relate to individual golfers?
Well, we assign colors because it's easier for a person to identify another golfer by their color than it is to identify them by their name. So we've kind of assigned colors that go with the different temperaments of the different golfers. Obviously, we're all combinations of all kinds of traits, but we all have a primary trait, and we've assigned a color that kind of goes with that trait. So we have a challenger golfer who we assigned red to, and we have a social golfer who is blue, and we have a traditional golfer who is yellow, and a technical golfer who's green. So we have the primary colors with the primary traits.
And I'm sure as you explain each of these colors and what they mean, the red challenger, blue social, yellow traditional, green technical, as you explain each of these, we're all going to, I know in my mind I'm thinking of people already of, that's Bill, and that's right. Mm-hmm. So let's take them one at a time. Explain to me what a red challenger personality is.
Well, first of all, I will tell you that everyone we describe is all about observable traits, and so you really don't have to guess. If you watch a person long enough, you'll be able to observe things that make them different from the others around you. So the challenger golfer is a person who is typified by dominance in their profile. So they come across as much more assertive. They're very direct, straightforward, to the point, very concise communication. They lean towards you when they're speaking. They look you in the eye. So they are much more succinct and very direct.
And this translates to their style of play as well?
Absolutely, absolutely. And the reason for that is every temperament has a primary motivational need and a primary motivational fear, and those motivations determine their behavior. And of course, it's the behavior that is observable. So, in the case of the challenger golfer, the most horrible thing that can happen to a challenger person in any area of their life is being taken advantage of or losing advantage. And so the behaviors that we see generated from that are behaviors that are meant to exert control over their environment. So a challenger golfer, whether he's in a boardroom or running a sales team or if he's on the golf course, his primary method of operating is controlling his environment. So we can see a challenger on the golf course because he is always going to try new things. He's going to always want to hit his driver. Even if the score suffers, he just doesn't want to not be able to hit his driver unless he's been taught or conditioned to win a bet or to win a tournament not to hit the driver. But he's going to exert control. So on the golf course, the typical challenger, when things don't go well, he will actually exert more control by choking his club. So most challengers choke the grip of the club. That shortens their backswing, tightens their muscles, and then their ball starts doing really funny things.
Interesting. And then we move on to, and you can probably notice this kind of behavior by the second or third hole if you've not even played with these people before.
Well, you notice it before because they're already trying to figure out what the bet is as you're walking to the first tee. And so challengers cannot really enjoy themselves unless there's a challenge involved. So that could be competitive partners. It can be a very challenging course. It can be a match. Can I tell you a story about a challenger?
Please. We got plenty of time here.
Well, you know how men and women get together and have their annual golf outings, you know.
Right.
And so they might plan for weeks and weeks and, you know, send all kind of pairing sheets and come up with formats and shine their shoes and buy new balls and clubs and new drivers. And they you know, get to their golf outing, and there might be a match going on with a bunch of other men. So they might pick a Calcutta the night before, and they start, you know, placing their bets and, you know, reunited with old friends and that sort of thing. Well, inevitably, when they get back to their condo, the challenger will come in and say to his three friends, "Hey, guys, I just want you to know I placed a side bet with every other team in the match tomorrow. So you're really going to have to play up." Well, then the yellow, traditional golfer might be sitting there, and this is a true story, by the way. One did say, "I can't believe you did that to us again. I look forward to this for 3 months. I planned this. I can't wait to get here. You always go in, you place all these bets. Now I won't sleep a wink. I'll be exhausted tomorrow. I'll whip the ball on the first tee because we could probably lose about $600 to $700 a piece because of these stupid bets. Can't you ever just one time come out with your friends and just play golf for fun?"
Like I do.
And the challenger will say, "Well, you know, Bob, I just have to tell you, without a bet, golf ain't much of a game."
Yeah.
So that's a challenger.
Yeah, and you just completely revealed who that was, too, by saying Bob. Now, what happens when you have two challengers that are out playing together? Does one back down, or do they continue to push each other?
No, they usually play very well.
Interesting.
When you see Tiger and Phil play, for instance, those are two challengers. So challengers always play better when there's something to win, there's something to accomplish, and they play badly when they're bored or when they get too far ahead. You probably know many golfers who are challengers who in a match might be 6 or 7 strokes up. And then all of a sudden you see them fall 2 or 3 strokes behind because their attention has been lost. There's really nothing to be gained. And the next thing you know, they're behind. And then they'll usually come from behind and play very well to catch up. So they don't play well when they're bored.
That's really interesting, and I want to get deeper into that and look at some different combinations in a second. But I want to say that today's podcast is brought to you by Audible.com, the leading provider in spoken word entertainment. Audible has over 35,000 titles to choose from to be downloaded and played back anywhere, just like you do with the Golf Smarter podcast. Log on to audiblepodcast.com/golfsmarter to get a free audiobook download of your choice when you sign up today. Now, if you search for golf in audible.com, there are 70 different titles to choose from fiction, comedy, instruction, mental game. Many of the people who we featured on Golf Smarter have books available at audible.com, and there are so many more to choose from. So go again to audiblepodcast.com/golfsmarter for a free audiobook. Now, for a live link to audiblepodcast.com/golfsmarter, you can go to our Golf Smarter blog and click on it. It'll send you right to that page. Again, audiblepodcast.com/golfsmarter. Now, Jennifer, thanks for allowing that interruption. But I want to talk about men and women. When women play, you're going to have these different when women, you have a women foursome. They play, you're going to have these different personality traits. What if you have a woman who's a challenger and goes out and plays with men? What role does she then take, or is that her personality no matter what happens?
That's her personality no matter what happens. They just call them different things.
Who calls whom?
The men call the woman something different than a challenger.
Oh, this is a podcast. What are you trying to say here, Jennifer? What do you think we say behind women's back, or to their face, as a matter of fact?
Well, it's really it really challenges the guys quite a bit. Now, if it's a man challenger, if it's challenger to challenger, that can be a very interesting match. But challenger women can be intimidating to other profiles, whether they are men or women.
Right. So if you have that woman who is a challenger and playing with the male traditional, he's still going to whine about the fact that, why are you doing this to me? I can't sleep. Oh.
Well, he's going to whine. The traditional is going to whine because the challenger's rushing them. We haven't gotten to the other traits yet, Fred, but the number one source of anxiety on the golf course or distraction or keeping somebody from really being attentive to their game is really the pace of play. And most challengers are very urgent people. They move very fast. They address their balls. They take a swing. They hit it, and they're off to the next one. And traditionals, the yellow dots, are much more paced. They're more even-paced. They, in fact, under pressure, they move slower. So if you have the challenger and the traditional playing in the same foursome, you create anxiety on both sides.
Yes, you do.
And the challenger will speed up because he's waiting so long for the traditional. He just can't wait to get out and hit something. So he speeds up his tempo, which hurts his swing. And then the traditional slows down their tempo because they feel rushed, and that hurts their swing. So that's the worst combination to have on the golf course.
Now, what is the worst combination? Having
the challenger, the fast-paced player, and the slow-paced player.
When you have a foursome that has one of each trait, is that optimum, or is that just disastrous?
Well, it's fun to watch, first of all, and it's interesting, but it's more fun if somebody knows it ahead of time. In other words, when we do icebreakers for corporate events and we have people color-coded and they end up with one of each color on their foursome by accident or by design, when they go out and play and they kind of know what to expect of each other, they don't become as irritated with each other as they would if they didn't know what to expect of each other. So you can have four completely different people, but they will, of course, be affected by what the other people do. And so, for instance, between the social and the technical, usually the social is wildly extroverted, somebody that's very talkative, very congenial, telling stories, telling jokes. And then the technical might be very, very quiet and very introspective because they're worried about their technical decisions, and they're very committed to being perfectionistic and not making mistakes. And so if you have those two in the same foursome, the social becomes very irritated because the technical's not talking to them, and the technical becomes completely disoriented because the social won't shut up. Because the more the social can't get the technical to talk to them, the more they talk, and the quieter the technical gets. And so, so you have that scenario unwinding too. Now, if you know ahead of time, that you've kind of assessed who your friends are and so forth, then it just becomes fun to watch, and you can see the gamesmanship of how I get to this one or get to that one. But the way I first got the idea for Golf Mind was my very best friend was a technical, and I happened to be a social. And she was the friend I played with every single weekend for several years. And one day she hit a very bad shot. We would play no matter what the weather was. It was frosty, it was cold, it was in South Carolina. She hit a very bad shot into the rough. And I immediately, being a social, said, oh, nobody could hit that. That was a terrible lie. It's terrible weather. Nobody could hit that. Don't feel bad. And she spun around in front of my other two friends and yelled at me. She's a very quiet person, but she yelled at me on the golf course, and she said, has it ever occurred to you that I don't want you making me feel better about every one of my lousy golf shots? Well, it really never had occurred to me.
Wow.
So I thought, well, and I said, actually it never did occur to me. And so that's when I first got this, real epiphany that people take their personalities on the golf course with them, and they don't want you to treat them the way you want to be treated. They want to be treated the way they want to be treated.
Is it safe for us to identify what trait we are, or is it easier for someone else to make that identification? Like, I'm sure that I would say, well, I'm a bit of all four of those things, and yet you probably got me figured out already, and I'm sure many people who write to me and who listen think, oh, well, Fred's this, because they know me so well after listening to all this garbage for such a long time. But can I see myself as doing little bits of all of this? Well,
the primary factor we need to figure out so we can enjoy our golf the most and play our very best games most of the time is what really is the most important thing to us when we play golf. For the challenger, of course they like friends, and of course they play for fun and that sort of thing, but they really play to win. And so if there isn't some component that can be won, there's no challenge, there's nothing to win, the challenger is not going to enjoy the golf as much. And so if you're an individual challenger, you'd say, that does affect me, because I don't like just playing social golf. I want to have a little something on the side. I want to have a little bit of a bet. I want to, do something. So, and the social will tell you, even if I score very, very well, if I'm not with people I like, if I'm not having a good time, it's just not that great a day. So the social will say, fun is the real reason I play. And so no matter what else is going on, they can win the trophy, but if they were with a bunch of negative people who were not, communicative and not telling stories and not having fun, the social just does not enjoy the day. And the technical, who likes friends and likes to relax and so forth, the technical is a perfectionist, and they are fascinated with the system and the process of golf. And so to them, it is a contest with themselves on how can they master that perfection. And so they want the neatest new this and the neatest new that, and they want to know, and they will read Consumer Reports, and they'll read what's in everybody's bag in the Golf Digest magazine and that sort of thing, because to them, the technical and the physics aspects of golf are fascinating to them. So they will tell you that if that component is missing, it's not as satisfying for them. So if they are constantly being in between clubs and not really feeling good about how their planning and their practice and their system is working, they're going to have a bad day no matter how congenial the people around them. And the traditional, bless their hearts, 50% of the population are traditional. The traditionals really do play to relax, and they hardly ever have anybody in their foursome who also plays to relax. So, so they want to go out and have time and not be rushed and be able to, do their pre-shot routine without being, made fun of and that sort of thing.
They want to smell the cut grass and look at the trees and see the birds flying by, and there's people who don't even know that exists.
Well, of course not. But they're into the harmony and that sort of thing of the environment. And they also, most of our professionals are traditional, so they play as a job or income. I mean, they play because it's their occupation. But most people know that even though they're parts of all these, just like our temperaments we all adjust every day to be accommodate those around us and so forth. And so we all have, some of all these traits. But if we don't accommodate the first and primary most important trait, we're just not going to enjoy our golf, and we're not going to have a good time, and we're not going to get better. And Golf Mind was really written because I recognized in the industry that the number of golfers does not increase. It stays the same. For the last 10, 12, 15 years, it's been the same amount of golfers. And the reason I think most of them get out, from talking to hundreds and hundreds of them, is because they don't get better. Or they go out and they're just frustrated day after day after day. So if you just understand your primary motivating trait of why you play golf, you can make decisions whenever possible that enables you to do that. And part of that, if you're with some very different people with you on the course, is you have to understand what does create that really good experience for you, and how do you create a bubble around you so that you can simulate that even if the people in your group aren't compatible with you. So that understanding the primary trait, even though we all have all kinds of traits and we adjust day to day, I think that's a real essential to understanding how to get the most out of your golf.
Is it more important for you to understand your trait, or for you to figure out what the other people in your group are and adjust to that?
It depends on how big the bet is.
I don't even think about betting when I play golf. I guess I'm not that red.
Well, first of all, it's important for you to know what kinds of things distract you. So it's always self-awareness comes first. You have to know, first of all, what is it that gets to you in life in general and in golf. And then if there's something happening to you on the golf course, you want to take a look around and see if it's somebody that you're with, or somebody that's, in your foursome or behind you or in front of you or something. And so it helps to understand how that other person really is, because it will at least stop the personal animosity if they're irritating you. If you understand that's who that person is, you can have a conversation with them, and just say in a very matter-of-fact way, by the way, I really came out here today to concentrate on something I'm working on. And so I'm not going to probably be as talkative as you would like me to be today, because I'm really focused on this today, and I hope you'll understand. And then we'll get together after the match, whatever. So if you're an introverted person and you've got somebody that hasn't shut up since they stepped on the first tee, then if you know that is going to bother you and you want to have something good happen in that golf game that day, there's nothing wrong with saying that in a polite way. Mm-hmm. And the other person will feel relieved because they won't think they have to entertain you the rest of the day. Because extroverts often feel if somebody's quiet, that it's their job to fill the void, fill the gaps, and entertain the person.
Right, or it's our fault that they're not being entertained.
Exactly. So when you do understand, like my girlfriend who yelled at me on the golf course, and she's still, by the way, one of my best friends. I mean, we still play golf. We've had some interesting epiphanies in our golf together, and she lives in a different state. I don't see her very often, but I never did the same thing to her again after that once I realized what she was saying to me. So the most important thing is the self-awareness first, and then the awareness of others afterward. And this is especially important in business and things like that, when, you see somebody playing with the CEO and do things that just jeopardizes their career the rest of their lives because they don't pay any attention to who that CEO is and how their behavior, their inherent behavior might irritate that person. So, I think you equally want to know who you're playing with once you understand who you are. But if you don't understand why you play golf, then that's a problem. Can I tell you another story?
Please. I love stories.
I know. Now I know what kind of golfer you are.
Whoa. What is that? What kind?
I'll tell you at the end of the day.
Okay, fine.
You probably guessed by then anyway. But there's a CEO that is a very prominent Fortune 100 company in the United States, and he has a lovely wife, and he happens to be a challenger, and she happens to be a traditional, which on your colors of golf we would call that the yellow and the red.
Mm-hmm.
And so they're really opposites. Mm-hmm. And he plays golf, as all challengers do, with a vengeance. He wants to have a really competitive match. He has a foursome he plays with on weekends. And, of course, she was complaining quite a bit because he never wants to play with her. And so traditionals often want to play with their husbands or their wives, but just because they want to be with them, you know, and they want to relax and, like you said, see the new plantings and the flowers and the creeks and so forth. But anyway, and traditionals can be very serious about golf, but she just wanted to be with him, basically. So he started feeling badly that he hadn't taken her to play golf in some time. So he says, you know, honey, he said, I'll tell you what, Sunday afternoon we'll go out and it'll be quiet. We won't have anybody behind us and we won't be rushed. And we can just go out and have a nice round of golf together. Well, she was very excited about that and looked forward to it for several days. So they went out. And truly it was a lovely day, and they just had the biggest time, and there's nobody behind him, so he was playing two balls. Mm-hmm. And so she's, you know, hitting hers, you know, 150, 160 feet down the fairway and right down the middle and up on the green, and he's playing two balls. And so finally they get to number 17, and he puts his first ball about 2 inches from the cup. And very nice shot. And then he hooks his second one way into the woods on the left, and he just threw a fit. And he slammed his club down on the ground, and he's hopping mad, and he said, I can't believe that. I can't believe I did that. What a stupid shot that was. And she says, well, honey, you know, she said, you had the nicest ball right up there by the flag. You know, that was a really nice shot. And he said, yes, but I'm already 1 down to that ball. And now I'm going to be 2 down going into 18.
Wow.
Well,
he was competing against himself the entire time.
So, well, she said, you know, well, I see that you're just really out here with your imaginary ball friend. You're not playing with me. So she jumped in the cart and left him out there with his wedge and his putter to play 18. So, but the point of it was, had they really understood why each of them plays golf, he might not have said that on 17. Yeah. You know, he said, I was okay if I just hadn't said anything.
So she thought all along they were together, and he thought that she was just coming for the ride with the two of him.
Yes.
Wow.
With him and his competitor.
Right. But you're not a therapist, all right?
No. Oh, no, please, no. No. Sometimes you get into something like that.
Yeah, exactly. What is your background to this? How did you get to this?
Oh, well, it's a crazy story. But I have a consulting practice. I've been working with companies solving performance problems for 27 years, and primarily problems reaching goals and results, and primarily centered on leadership and communication and sales, and also all kinds of evaluation of processes and everything. But in that context, I did over 20,000 profiles on people, and was able to benchmark the success traits of people in different positions. And so we can pretty well define and we can predict whether a person's going to be successful or not in a certain position based on their behavioral traits. And so when I started playing golf in 1994, the first time I played, I was forced into a corporate outing, and I wanted to drive the beer cart, but they made me play. And somebody rented a set of clubs and threw me into this foursome with these 3 fabulous golfers, guys. And on the 17th hole, they all lost their balls, and their golf balls on the 17th hole. And I was the only person left in that foursome, and we were tied for first. And so I had somebody handed me a 7-wood out of my bag. I didn't know what clubs to use, of course, because I'd never played golf. And I did a little prayer, you know, because my knees were shaking because we were going to lose the tournament if I didn't get a ball on the green. And it was so I hit the 7-wood, and it was way, way left, but it hit a ridge and rolled back down to about 10 inches from the cup. And so I got 3 marriage proposals and won some money, and so I was hooked. I was just so hooked I couldn't stand it.
All it takes is one great shot, and it's like, I love this game.
So I took all of this I thought this was a good time for me to start playing golf, and so I just was an addict. I'm still an addict, and so I started looking at my friends and my clients I was playing golf with, and I saw how aggravated and frustrated and how many days they were disappointed in when we couldn't wait to get out there and we couldn't wait to, play, and then somebody's having a bad day. And then I realized that the very traits that I saw on the performance side in business were the same things that were interfering with their success on the golf course. So right after 9/11, when things kind of slowed down for everybody, I sat down and wrote the golf profile.
I see. And you work not only with corporations, but you work with golfers and golf instructors.
Yes.
Fabulous. Mm-hmm. The website, again, is called golfmindrx.com. And you should definitely check this out. It's really fascinating, and it's amazing to me that really we spent a lot of time talking about the front page here, and there's so much more content that can be dug deep into on personality traits, but all the things that you find yourself saying. I mean, the front page here, you find yourself saying, I hate being rushed by the group behind me. We didn't talk about that. Just when I think I've got it, I lose it. That was me. That was me this week. So hopefully we'll get a chance to talk again, Jennifer. I just loved having you on today. Thanks so much for joining us.
Well, thank you, Fred. It's always fun when you can talk about something as much fun as golf. And the bottom line is everybody should be having a whole lot of fun out there.